Hello, this is Ken, your podcast preacher, and I want to welcome you back to Deep Waters. This podcast is brought to you by Applied Strengths Ministry, where we believe working together in our strengths is the effect of working out the will and calling of God in our lives. The title of this message is Darkness. This is a multi-episode series in which this is episode 3 of 7. Now, if David is self-aware of his own deprivations, then should we not also consider our own hearts? Now, if you are a self-identified, self-righteous, absent of God's character individual, then I'm not talking to you. Because like I was, so are you in that you are blind to the things of God, be it standing in the light or in the dark, just like I was. I was a moral standard for everyone I hung around, and to ensure self-perpetuation of the great deception, I made sure I did not hang around those who were made righteous by God alone, as I could not bear the bulb heat. That may be why rats hang around with other rats and not cats. Now, as we go there seems to be more to address here. If you think that you are a good person, by this one scripture you somehow believe that you have discovered what King David could not, and that is that you are the personification of light, so that darkness has no dwell. But then that would make you God according to 1 John 1:5. Now that's shedding some light on the scripture, I hope. So Job has a lot to say about darkness. Let's see how he interacts with it. Job 3:4. May the day be darkness, may God above not seek it, nor the light shine upon it. Who would pray this? What kind of pressure and stress must one undertake to get to a place where you would not want God to intervene? I have had them, have you? There are some who would not give you permission to dwell under such weight. But I give you permission, not because I am better than you, but because it gets lonely in this place, and good company may be a sure lifeline. Job 3:5. May darkness and the shadow of death claim it. May a cloud settle on it. May the blackness of the day terrify it. Again, we know that Job was under attack and testing at the same time. Now, I must encourage you that Satan was not given permission to kill Job. So Job was doing better than most of us. Are you a wife that says, I will support my husband no matter what? Or do you toss your guard down and send the devil a sheath of darts? You would be surprised just how many friends you have that completely miss it when God is present in your life. Job's wife and the amigos who all of a sudden became darklessness while at the same time becoming the voice of Satan. Does it happen today? Yipsy-doozy. You may need to pray for them, lest a worse thing come upon them than that which has visited your doorstep. Job 3:6. As for that night, may darkness seize it. May it not rejoice among the days of the year. May it not come into the number of the months. Job 5:14. They meet with darkness in the daytime, and grope at noontime, as in the night. Job 10:21. Before I go to the place from which I shall not return, to the land of darkness and the shadow of death. Job 10:22. A land as dark as darkness itself, as a shadow of death, without any order, where even the light is like darkness. Hey, I don't agree with your explanation of that scripture. You are off and borderline a heretic, says the person who avoids this type of season in their life at all costs. You see, you may be who you are because you don't allow God into your darkness. Job had to see the end of himself and everything before getting his revelation of life. The birthday parties, forgotten. Mexico cruise, a ship gone sunk. All the potlucks and celebrations of life. The memory of things in this life will not sustain you when you are standing in the same cloud that God dwells. Most of us are afraid of the dark because we trust what we see more than what we cannot. And yet I tell you that faith calls those things that don't exist as though they do. 1 Corinthians 4:18, Hebrews 11:1-3. Look at Moses' response and see what it takes to enter into the house of God. Exodus 20:21. So the people stood afar off, but Moses drew near the thick darkness where God was. Are you saying that in God there is no darkness and yet he can be found in the thick darkness? Yes, both are true. For if we cannot get a hold of him, where we sometimes venture to go, then who is our help in a time of trouble? Well, I'm glad you asked. So let's bring some clarity and apply some Windex to this pain. Psalms 9:9. The Lord also will be a refuge for the oppressed, a refuge in the times of trouble. Psalms 10:1. Why do you stand afar off, O Lord? Why do you hide in times of trouble? Is it clearer now? 1 minute you are covered and the next he is. Christianity is experiencing all sides of God in order that we get to know him. We have too many Korahs in the church world, and it's causing the Jobs and Moseses to go underground, that they can see God in the darkness. You see, if he is an omni-God, omnipotent, omnipotent, and omnipresent, then doesn't he really go anywhere that he cannot be found? You say and pray that you want more of God, then I shall encourage you to buy a miner's gopher hat with a light. No, but a Bible would be good, so that you can leave it on the table for a season. Because when you invite God out of his hiding place, his dark cloud, and into your soul, into your darkness, you won't, in all likelihood, be able to do much reading, attending a church that does not know the value of darkness, that does not equip the saints for the work of ministry, that does not make disciples that remain, or fruit that remains. It is very possible that no one will get your process, and like the peeps at the bottom of the chaos, the mountain of God, they will stand afar off. Exodus 20:18. But wait, maybe you will have near and dear friends like Job, who will pay heed to voices not of God, lest they be helpful. But those voices that inflame the boils and turn the bed of ash into a bed of thorns and thistles. I'm not trying to be dark in your moment of trial and testing. Nope. I am trying to tell you something that will be helpful so that instead of telling people, rather than trying to prove to people, that you are thus and thus spiritual, you will allow God to remove that blotch from your heart so that you can see him for who he really is. Success in this season can mean the difference between running for God or a lifetime of daily visits at the Peter Tavern. I mean, think about this before we move on. Peter loved God so much that he took his self-pitying, lying, throwing Jesus under the bus, self-right back to Jesus. What was he thinking to show up in the presence of God bringing all of this garbage with him? Peter left his tavern of sorrow and self-pity to face the God of love. Why, oh why, person, would you avoid such a meeting? Darkness may be you at times, in you at times, overwhelm you at times. But we know, don't we, that God dwells even in darkness, without so much as having any in himself. Job 12:22. He uncovers deep things out of darkness and brings the shadow of death to light. You see, it gets better if you hang in there. Sometimes I wonder if I'm writing these for you or for me. We go on. Job 18:18. He is driven from light into darkness and chased out of the world. Okay, so a bit of backstory. This came from Bildad, who claimed to know God, like Job. This is funny as Job was paying the price for knowing God, and Bildad didn't know God well enough to know that God was behind what was happening to Job, or the cost of intimacy with God. It will cost you everything, including your unanswered questions about God, or what he is doing and why he is doing everything. Job 23:17. Because I was not cut off from the presence of darkness, and he did not hide deep darkness from my face. I could include every scripture about darkness, but that would not be helpful, could be redundant, and is probably not for this topic. Perhaps I will do that with another word in the Bible that is more uplifting. So prior to Job speaking up in this last verse, his friends who were in darkness but did not know it, nor could they discern it, were without hesitation the experts on darkness because they could hear voices, not discern them, but could hear them. They see God, they hear God, and yet they do not know enough of him to recognize that he is in this thing. Sounds like anyone you know? Then pray for them, that God will help them to see and know him. Now, if you want some insight into Job's insight, read Job 28 when you have a moment. You will then understand what these boys were really missing out on, because, and no doubt, they, like us, in a debate, were preparing their responses before they heard fully the matter at hand. Proverbs 18:13. So we end with Job 29:3. When his lamp shone upon my head, and when by his light I walked through darkness. Well, that's it for today. Remember, it's not what you find wrong or disagree with regarding these messages, but what you can take away from it. Together we can do more to impact the kingdom than if we work alone. Let's flip the script and kill, steal, and destroy the works of the enemy and create space for the light of life to shine through into people's lives. Plant a seed and click on the like and subscribe button. Let's build this ministry together. Thanks, and see you next time at Deep Waters.